Yes, now, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Thomas Rants YouTube channel. Let's talk NXT. Let's not waste any time. Let's get into it. We started off with a tag team match between the Ren QCC and Fatal Influence. Not really sure. Well, I am sure why. Because many reasons. One, Ren Sinclair just beat Fallon Henley for the women's speed title, which I disagree with, but it's fine. And not Ren Sinclair. Kendall Gray, don't know why I named it out of my head there. Kendall Gray wants to challenge for the NXT Women's Championship, which is why she dropped the Women's Evolve Championship. So after the Ren QCC won the match, Kendall gets on the mic trying to call out Jacy Jayne, trying to say that it's stand and deliver. Kendall Gray wants Jacy Jayne. That is when Lola Vice comes out and says, Nana, I want Jacy Jayne. So Robert Stone comes out and sets up this match next week for Madison Square Garden, New York. They're in another special event, another different arena, right before Stand and Deliver, and I can tell you many reasons why this match is great. Because A, they both come from MMA backgrounds and are now both incredible wrestlers, so they're going to put on a banger match. Two, either is a good opponent for Jacy Jayne. We might get both, we might just get one or the other. I'm not bothered either way. I like both of them. If I was to pick one out of pure favour, I would just prefer Lola Vice because I think Lola Vice deserves it. But Kendall Gray would also be a good fit. I think do a triple threat match, honestly, because all three will tear the house down. And I think that, personally, is the better option. But you do your NXT, you know best. So Ruka came out to call out Zarya, cut an amazing promo, actually started crying. So there's good character points right there. Talking about how Zarya manipulated and turned on her the second Zarya didn't get the opportunity, so did. Zarya came out and then sort of got at Soul for playing the victim, as if she didn't have everything and Zarya was the one suffering at the side. Crowd actually got behind Zarya instead of Soul Ruka. I'm quite surprised by that. Obviously, yes, you kind of do get behind Zarya because she's a bit of the underdog in the story, even if she is the heel. But for the sheer fact of how over Soul Ruka is and how good she is in the ring, I didn't think that people would turn on Soul Ruka, but they did. So fair enough. And we kind of ended the whole promo off. It was a great promo exchange, like good storytelling. And I think Soul Ruka tried to end it with, nah, Zarya, you constantly think I'm the enemy or the bad guy in your story, but it's just you against you. And Zarya kind of went, nah, you weren't the bad guy in my story, you were the mistake. Oof, mic drop. We're getting that match at Stand and Deliver. Can't wait. You know, I kind of wanted it over the NXT title, but honestly, this makes just as much sense. You might as well just go at it, you know, get the best friends going at it. I don't know who's going to win that match, to be honest. I don't know if this is the last one, probably Soul Ruka, but if it's not, maybe Zarya. But I'll talk about that in my predictions video when it comes to making one. Tatum Paxley, as we know, last week got dragged under the stage by Blake Monroe, who grabbed the title and took it back because obviously she's never been the same since she lost that title. So Shiloh Hill, who helped Tatum deal with Izzy Dame a couple of weeks ago, is now helping Tatum Paxley track down Blake Monroe. And eventually they did. And it was Blake Monroe in a hotel room with the NXT Women's North American title that wasn't hers. It still had the Tatum Paxley side plates on. And someone knocked on the door. She assumed it was our room service. It was Tatum Paxley who pulled her by the hair and said, I'm coming back for it next week. So we might get a match next week at New York, or maybe Stand and Deliver for the NXT Women's North American title. And to be honest, I kind of thought Izzy and Tatum would be the way to go for Stand and Deliver. I still kind of think it should have been, but for a quick turnaround, they're doing a decent job, you know. And it's kind of hard to mess it up considering the two, like, well, I mean, one's a fan favorite, one's a major star, so go at it, you know what I mean? Knock yourself out. It's gonna be good. Kalani Jordan had a match against Thea Hale. She had a bit of a backstage run-in with Thea and Jada last week. So she had a match with Thea, beat her in a couple minutes, then started beating her down. And Jada Parker came out to help. And I can imagine we're probably going to get Kalani Jordan, Jada Parker at Stand and Deliver. It's just weird how quick they've turned around all these feuds. In the last couple of months, we've had Kalani feuding with Lola and Jada feuding with Blake and Tatum feuding with Izzy, and then right before Stand and Deliver, we've ended all three of those feuds, and Jada's went from feuding Blake to feuding with Kalani, and Kalani went from feuding with Lola to feuding with Jada, and Tatum went from feuding with Izzy to feuding with Blake, and Lola's went from feuding with Kalani to feuding with Jacy, you know, all within a couple of weeks of Stand and Deliver. It's mental, you know. I kind of feel like it's quite a quick turnaround, but they're doing a decent job. It's still entertaining. It's not like kind of awkward and dry. it is what it is, and probably they're the better matchups. They probably just should have had a bit of a longer run, or maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just reading too deep into it. Ilio LaFleur and Show Legacy were attacked, or was it Eli Knight? Some people were attacked at the start of the show, but as we know, Show Legacy's already injured. Ilio LaFleur apparently got injured at a house show, so this is going to be their way of writing him off TV and essentially vacating the Speed title. And we're never going to know who attacked them, but some people say it was clearly Dark State, some people say it was clearly Vanity Project, but someone had to take their space in the tag team tournament. And who took their space in the tag team tournament? None other than the team who actually faced Vanity Project last week, the El Grande Americanos. Why do I keep calling them the El Grande Americanos? It's the Americanos. And they faced off against the Culling, and sad for the Culling, the Americanos got the win. And thanks to Birthright beating Hank and Tank, I think it was, last week or the week before, the finals next week in New York is the Americanos versus Birthright, with the winners facing Vanity Project for the NXT Tag Team titles at Stand and Deliver. And I'm kind of feeling like they're going to go with Americanos, probably because they're the bigger stars and they might not be ready to push Birthright right into the title contention yet. But who knows, you know. I think either team would be good. I kind of hope it's Birthright because they are the NXT stars. And we've already got Johnny Gargano challenging for the North American title. Yes, that is right. We had an elimination gauntlet match where people come out every now and then, and once someone gets pinned, they're eliminated. So it started off with Shiloh Hill, Jackson Drake, who's now actually dropped the Evolve Championship to compete for this. And then out came Dion Lennox, out came Charlie Dempsey, and then the fifth person was unknown. And the fifth person, out comes Candice LeRae, saying this is the only thing to get Johnny Gargano, who has been on SmackDown, been in a big drought, and then finally came out of it to be Johnny Wrestling and got beat up by Obafemi. She brought out Johnny Gargano back to NXT, and there was funny segments in the match where she was trying to get him involved. He wasn't having none of it because every time he got hit, he'd go back to being depressed. And thanks to some shenanigans to help get Dion Lennox out of there, thanks to did OTM help with that, or am I just being stupid? I don't know. But Shiloh Hill essentially eliminated everyone. Eliminated Dion, eliminated Charlie, eliminated who was the other person? Jackson Drake. And then there was, who got involved? Somebody got involved. Was it? No. Somebody, it was Birthright, because he eliminated Charlie Dempsey. Birthright attacked Shiloh Hill, and then all Candice did was push Johnny Gargano on top of Shiloh Hill, and he got the win. So Johnny Gargano got the win by lying on the side of the ring the whole time, and now he's challenging Miles Bourne for the NXT North American title at Stand Deliver. A big slap on the face to the whole entire NXT roster, but it is what it is. It's going to be good for Johnny Gargano. It's going to help build Johnny back up, and we know that match is going to slap. Johnny Gargano in NXT is the best thing possible, to be honest, especially with the competition on SmackDown, how Johnny Gargano's been presented since he's returned to NXT. He's been a tag team wrestler. He looks tiny compared to the rest of the roster, and he doesn't stand a chance against them. So building him up in NXT would be a very good thing, because look at how well Javon, Trick, and Oba are all presented. By the time someone moves up from that main roster, from the NXT roster to the main roster, they're going to be stars. So putting Johnny Gargano back in the picture in NXT where he thrives, when he comes back up to the main roster, he's going to be ready. He's going to be ready. Who knows? Maybe Johnny Gargano spends the rest of his time in NXT where he belongs, and as a veteran helps out the younger talent. To be honest, make a lot of sense. And do you know what? It's sad to see that Johnny doesn't get to thrive on the main roster, but he does so well on NXT, you know, and we're just not going to miss that. Oh, lots of shenanigans happened throughout the night. Josh Briggs was trying to get Robert Stone's attention, to get some action, to, you know, to do something. He's been, you know, after being pushed so heavily, he then has done nothing for months. And with the whole beef between Jasper Troy and Keanu Carver, after the Booker T thing last week, no referees want to referee Keanu Carver versus Jasper Troy next week because of Keanu taking them all out. That's when Josh Briggs finally said, fine, if you're not going to give us any matches or any attention or any of your time, let me referee the match. So next week, we're getting Jasper Troy, Keanu Carver, one-on-one, Josh Briggs, special guest referee. And this is that story of them all being the best giant in NXT that they kind of hinted at quite a few weeks ago and then never really touched on. So it's going to be quite exciting. It might lead into like a big triple threat match at Stand and Deliver, because fuck, why not, you know? Originally, when they mentioned Jasper and Keanu next week in New York, I was like, why? Stand and Deliver is right there. It's so annoying. But I'm kind of thinking now maybe they're going to go down a triple threat route because Josh is probably going to pull off some shenanigans as the douchebag that he is. And we're probably going to get a big triple threat match, which I'm absolutely here for. I'm here for that. Let's fucking do it, man. Let's go. And finally, I think the last thing I mentioned, the main event was meant to be Ricky Sainz versus Joe Hendry. Ethan and Ricky have been arguing throughout the night about Ethan's going to challenge Joe at Stand and Deliver. Ricky says he's going to challenge Joe at Stand and Deliver. And this match between Ricky and Tony was to take out Tony D'Angelo out of the equation. And the match never reached that point because at some point when Tony D starts talking to the people on the outside, Ethan Page gets involved and gets Ricky disqualified. And some would say, I would say, that was intentional, because Ethan Page thinks, well, if Ricky Sainz does beat Tony D'Angelo here, that means Ricky is kind of in line for the shot, And if Tony beats Ricky, that kind of means the same thing. So maybe I need to get involved here. Maybe I need to assert myself in this picture. Make sure no one is number one contender. I had a big four-way fight. Joe Hendry came out and to help out Tony, got rid of Ethan and Ricky, but then hit Tony D'Angelo with the standing ovation because he didn't forget that Tony D did it to him last week. So I said it for a couple of weeks and it's painfully obvious now. We're getting a fatal four-way match for the NXT title at Stand and Deliver. It's got to be Joe Hendry, Ethan Page, Ricky Sainz, and Tony D'Angelo. If it's not, I'll be pissed. And if Tony D'Angelo or Ethan Page don't win that title and either Joe Hendry walks away still champion or even worse, Ricky Sainz wins the title, I'll be mad. I like Ricky Sainz, but it makes zero sense to put the title right back on him. Especially when the guy's got loads of time left in NXT. The guys who don't, Ethan Page, Tony D'Angelo, could both use the NXT title. I like Ethan Page as a superstar, but I think he needs it less. A, because he's already had it, but B, because Tony D needs an achievement like that to kind of establish himself before he goes up to the main roster. Ethan Page is already established. But yeah, that was quite a decent episode of NXT. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought about it in the comments below. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.